Youth of the Mission in the Philippines has been running a outreach to victims of physical or sexual abuse for quite a few years. So we'll talk a bit about that. There's a YWAM San Francisco is actually doing a shower ministry to the people experiencing homelessness there in San Francisco. There's also an outreach to the Khmer people in Cambodia. YWAM Frontier Missions shares some encouraging stories about the multiplication of the gospel, and also more on this episode of the Youth of the Mission News Show. All right, so thank you very much for checking out this episode of the Youth of the Mission News Show. I'm your host, Bill Hutchison. You can contact us, subscribe to future episodes, and find links to all the stories we talk about on this show in the show notes at ywampodcast.com/117. So Created International is a ministry of Youth of the Missions that's been operating for quite a few years at various locations around the world. One of the things that they do is that they bring the gospel to the unreached by making top quality films in the local languages and in cultures of people groups that have very little witness. The media that they've created help workers in North Africa, the Middle East, and Indonesia. One of the exciting stories to come out of Created International is the story of the Maduris.
Back in 2001, there was a team of staff from Create International and students from the School of Frontier Media who were sent by YWAM Perth to do a project for the Maduris. The Maduris are an unreached people group in Indonesia. There's about 7 million of them. They're staunchly Muslim. And actually, YWAM Perth has had a lot of involvement with the Maduris over the years. They're in a group that we've adopted. We've had lots of short-term teams go there, and we've even had long-term presence. But even so, they've remained quite unreached. The project we were doing was to create a film that would share the gospel with the Maduris in their language and culture that could be used as an evangelistic tool. And it was quite a challenging project. It was hard going, it was hot, it was arduous. We had an amazing cast of people, but they were quite inexperienced, and so they actually were not used to being able to read their own language. They had to have each line translated from the Indonesian language to the Maduris language before they would say it. And then we would do that take, then we would go on to the next line, and our advisor and translator would help them, and then we would do that one. And it just took hours and hours of time, scenes stretched from one day to the next to the next. But in the end, we did finish it, but it literally took down to the last bit of light that we had on the last day to get the last shot before we had to leave and go on to our next location. You know, really when we do these films, we just don't know what the fruit of it's going to be. Of course, we always have hope because we feel like God has led us, and we're trusting that God will use the projects to share the gospel and to help people walk into relationship with their Creator, but we just don't know. But in this case, we had a really amazing opportunity a few months after we had come back to hear this story that after we had left, most of our cast, who the majority of them were Muslims when we were filming, most of them had given their lives to Jesus. And that was partly through their experience working on the movie, and it was also through the ongoing witness and testimony of our advisor. This was an amazing man of God who was an anointed evangelist and had an incredible ministry in that area. And through him and through their work in the movie, these guys had actually become believers. And then just at the end of 2017, Calvin and Carol Conkey, who were the leaders of Create International, and Carol was the leader of that outreach team, they had a chance to meet that translator advisor guy again at a conference that they were attending. And of course, they were very excited to see him. And as they began to talk, he was pointing to these actors who were in this film, and he was saying, you know what? These guys are really just the grandparents of the movement. And of course they were like, well, what are you talking about? What movement are you referring to? And he said, well, actually, through these guys' witness and testimony and through the ongoing use of the movie, there are actually now 3 generations of believers amongst the Maduris. He said people are still wanting to see this movie. He wanted to know where he could download it so that young people could watch it on their phones and share it that way. He said that before this movie, people didn't really have a concept that you could become a follower of Jesus and still retain your Maduris culture and identity. And that was something that we'd been really deliberate about doing the movie, about showing that actually following Jesus didn't mean having to kind of give up who you were as a Maduris person. And now he said that through this film, people really can understand that and they can see that, and that's been really significant for many of those people who have responded to the gospel. And really, when you're following God in missions, you're doing evangelism, you're doing outreach, you're doing projects, or you're sharing the gospel, so often you just don't know what the fruit of it is. You don't know what God is doing around you. And you might even wonder, is it even really worth it? And this story really helps me to remember that it is worth it. That actually there's really nothing that God can't do, even in incredibly difficult circumstances. And that there is tremendous, beautiful, lasting fruit that can come through our obedience.
So you can read more about the Create International Ministry over at the YWAM Perth website, which you saw at ywamperth.org.au, as well as over at the YWAM Frontier Missions website at ywamfm.org, or on the Create International website, which is createinternational.com. In 1996, YWAM in the Philippines started their first Nehemiah House to provide a Christ Treatment Center program for female victims of sexual or physical abuse. So, primarily they focus between the ages of 7 to 18. They operate 2 homes, one in Cagara de Oro City and in Malawi City, both of which are located on the island of Mindanao. I'm really terrible at pronouncing these, but hopefully you can read the story at ywampodcast.com/117. So when the girls get rescued out of their situation, they're often very hurt, confused, often sick, and have very little in the way of belongings. The program at YWAM Nehemiah House helps to bring healing and love to the girls. The center can help as many as 50 girls at a time in the 2 homes. There's plenty of opportunity for you to go and help with the Nehemiah House in the Philippines. There are chances to work with the girls and also around the property. At one of the homes, there's a farm that is planted with palm trees and fruit trees. This year, a team from Germany volunteered and taught the girls self-defense. And there's many other opportunities if you want to get involved. You can check out the ministry website at ywamnhi.org to find out more, including how you can volunteer or how you can support their ministry. So one of the ministries that YWAM San Francisco is engaged in is a shower ministry. And what they do with that is they provide showers for some of the many homeless in the area of the Tenderloin.
Monday, June 3rd, we were really excited to reopen the Ellis Room. We were able to provide showers and haircuts again to the neighborhood. We had spent a month renovating and redoing our showers completely. As you know, to provide 3 private stalls for individuals to come in and have a safe place to take showers. We were able to go from providing 10 showers a day to providing 20 showers a day. So literally doubling the capacity of doing showers, which was awesome. But more than just giving more showers, you're able to give people more time and more care. One of the things about relying on services is that you're often rushed and you have to get in and get out really quickly. And what we're able to do now is to provide the dignity of people taking their time. Yeah, so because of your support, because of your generosity, we're able to do what we're doing every day in the Tenderloin. So again, we're really grateful. We're very excited about what's next and what's coming.
So you can find out more about the Youth of the Mission ministry that's happening in San Francisco at ywamsanfrancisco.org. Now, since 2016, Youth of the Mission has been working in Pompet, which is just inside the Cambodian border with Thailand. They work to help the Khmer people there through various training programs and ministries.
U of N Poipet exists to make the biblical Jesus famous. The way we do that is to love, live, and lead like he did with his disciples. In the Bible, we see Jesus loving people without regards to race, religion, or status. He offered hope through serving people's needs in practical ways. Some practical ways that we serve are volunteering as English teachers, community cleanup times, and being available to stand with the poor when they are in need of a helping hand. A majority of Jesus' time was spent with his disciples, helping them to learn and understand God's purpose for their lives. As a community, we strive to live this way year-round, while also running training schools with the same live-learn philosophy. Our DTS, or Discipleship Training School, lays the foundations of a biblical worldview while cultivating in our students a personal relationship with God. Our BCC, or Bible Core course, builds upon that foundation and helps our students grow deeper in their knowledge of Scripture and how that impacts their lives, preparing them to influence their world. Lastly, in Scripture, we see Jesus leading. First, leading others towards a sincere and authentic relationship with the Father. And second, leading others towards a commitment to stand with the poor, the oppressed, and the isolated. We believe that this message is the ultimate reason for everything we do. That God is calling all of humanity to a restored relationship with Him. To love like He loves, to live like He lived, and to lead like He leads. Effectively making the biblical Jesus famous. If you like the idea of a live-learn lifestyle, join us at University of the Nations Poi Pet.
So you can find out more about their ministry by visiting the website that you would have just seen on the video if you're watching the video at ufnpoipet.com. It includes some of the information about how they're actually outreaching and influencing these 7 spheres or 7 mountains of society. You can find links to this and all the other stories that we'll talk about in the show if you head over to YWAMpodcast.com/117, where again you can watch all these videos as well as find the links to different stories that we've talked about. Now, Youth of the Mission in Paris, France, has been recently launched their property project.
Hi guys, my name is Adam and this is Leah, and we're the base leaders here of Youth with a Mission Paris Connect.
We had a call from God in 2017 to pioneer base here in Paris. It was a bit of a shock to us, but felt like God spoke it. So we moved up here with 11 people in October of 2017. And since then, God has done incredible things. We've grown from 11 full-time staff to over 30 full-time staff. We've seen 4 DTSs pioneered. We've run a 2-week outreach into Paris with over 130 people coming and joining us in the city. We've also been able to go to 37 different nations and sending teams across Europe and across the world to help to serve, to do evangelism, and just to be a part of what God is doing in the world.
Right from the beginning of our call here in Paris, we felt that God had spoken for us to buy into the land, to invest into this place, to put roots down. And in November 2018, the owners came to us and offered to us to buy the base land that we're on. We were shocked, encouraged, surprised, and also really feeling like it was God's confirmation to us. Since then, we've been pursuing lawyers and architects and banks. And we feel like now is the time to launch a fundraising project, which is 20% of the total 2.5 million. So 20% is 500,000. We feel that God has called us to raise in these next 3 months. We've already raised 40,000 euros of that. So we're trusting God in this next season for 460,000 euros. And just believing in faith that the right people would partner and get alongside us. So we're doing this video to invite you and ask you, yes, would you like to be a part of the journey? Would you like to be a part of investing and donating into what we're doing here in Paris, into impacting one of the most influential cities in the world? Yeah. And the video is to say, hey, would you partner with us? Would you pray and consider joining us in this journey?
All right, so if you visit YWAMParisConnect.com, you can find out more about their ministry, what they're doing, and how you can get involved if that's something you want to get involved with. So Youth of the Mission Toowoomba in Australia has a desire to use their arts as a voice for the voiceless, to bring faces, names, and stories to the attention of the public that may otherwise go unheard, and to speak God's love and promises over injustice around the earth. The vision is to see vulnerable people groups rescued by the love of God, both physically, in circumstance, and spiritually through salvation.
We are so excited to announce that we are launching a new ministry this upcoming season, the Mercy Campaign. The heart of this ministry is to stand for those who are vulnerable, oppressed, without a voice, or suffering at the hands of injustice. Jesus is both shepherd and mighty warrior, and the Mercy Campaign desires to extend both love and mercy to those in need and fight against injustice. We want to use the creativity that has been put within us, whether that is arts, dance, or music, and use that as a voice for the unjust way that humans are treated within our world. If you're on this team, you'll have the opportunity to work within our beautiful city of Toowoomba. This could look like working with foster kids and their families, teaching kids about their worth within schools, or refugees. Our vision is to see vulnerable people groups rescued by the love of God, both physically in circumstance and spiritually through salvation. If you have done a DTS and are interested in this, you can visit our website at ywamtoowoomba.com or email us at admissions@ywamtoowoomba.com for more information. If you haven't done a DTS yet but are interested, we have a creative justice DTS that has a very similar focus, and you can find information about this on our website as well. I look forward to the possibility of working with you and raising a voice for those who are unheard in our world.
So if you head over to ywamtoowoomba.com, you can find out more about their ministry, about the different things that is happening there, and also how you might be able to get involved with them. So Youth of the Mission has also been running an exciting ministry in Malawi, in Blantyre, that we'll share a little bit about with you now.
I'm honoured to introduce to you the work of YWAM in Blantyre, Malawi. We're a community of about 50 people from 8 nations with a common focus to know God and make Him known, but with a specific focus that we believe that there's going to be a wave of Malawian missionaries going to the nations. And also there's a movement of Malawians taking up the leadership of the church and mission movement here in Malawi to get Malawi ready for that move to the nations of the earth. Over the past years, we've seen an army of passionate Malawian missionaries raised up. And that's kind of what we feel called to do, is just to serve people here that have a passion, that have a vision and want to lay down their lives. I want to lay down my life for those that want to go out and serve. Let me tell you the ministries that these passionate Malawian missionaries are doing. Ministering to widows, youth, orphan support, computer training, sewing training, a 6-month mission school, an evangelism school, Bible studies in countless locations, village discipleship, outreach to Muslim tribes, farming training, family training, kids work, an evangelism department with door-to-door ministry, Bible distribution, Jesus film, healing evangelism, pastors training. Man, there's so many things that people are doing.
I'm Sunganani. I am leading evangelism ministry here at YWAM Blantyre.
We're doing a Bible study at the Forest Village, and we're doing the books of the Bible one at a time. We finished the book of Mark and John. Now we're in the book of Acts.
My name is Samuel Tifana. I'm working at youth ministry, teaching them computer lessons. Afterwards, we used to have Bible studies.
I'm Patrick Chibanda, leading YWAM Outreach Center here in Malawi. We are hosting pastors' trainings. These pastors started the church, but they didn't undergo any training.
Our discipleship schools are bringing a deep intimacy for young people, which is transforming their communities.
Children life are multiplied through Bible study from neighbor to friend.
Here in Malawi, young women leaders are playing a part in bringing God's kingdom here and now.
Community development restores God's plans for the communities of Africa. This is time for us Africans to rise and shine.
In our youth ministries, we are empowering young people to know who they are and make a stand for the gospel.
The primary school we have built for 600 children is raising up a next generation of leaders.
Young people are the missionaries of today, and we are called to go. Pray for us.
We will see the Great Commission being fulfilled in my generation.
All right, so if you head over to ywamblantyre.com, you can check out their website. see some of the ministries that is happening there, find out maybe how you can get involved, and more. So again, that's at ywamblantier.com. So YWAM Frontier Missions is actually doing a multiply story groups program. This is kind of an exciting program that they're doing. Now, they've actually released a story that just talking about some of the encouraging things that are happening, and just how us telling our stories, us sharing with others about the gospel, can have a serious impact and can lead to the multiplication of the gospel with other people.
There was this young man, his name is Jamal, and Jamal, I met him in school. So this day I just decided, I got like few young men, I say let's go to this secondary school and we tell stories to young people. So we went to the secondary school and we started telling stories, like Bible stories, to the students there in the interval, of the school. So I spoke with the school principal, and he said that was fine. So we got almost every student from that school to listen to those stories. So, many people responded to the stories, and we have people today in the church that came up out of that. But this particular guy called Jamal, he really touched my heart, because right after that meeting he comes to me, he says, hey, I want to hear more, because these stories touched my heart. So I sat with this young man, Jamal, he's about maybe 19 or 20-ish, in that age. And I spoke more. I told him so many more stories. And he said, I want to hear more. I said, okay, you can come tomorrow, because it was getting late and he was so hungry. He wanted to hear as many stories as I could tell him. So, and then the next day comes, almost every day he was coming to hear more stories. And then he decided to give his life to the Lord. So, 7 days later, he comes to me, he said, I started a new group. There are 7 people in that group. I say, how come? Say, those stories that you told me, I'm busy telling so many people, the stories. And then I said, I can also start a group. And so I decided to start a group. Now there is these 7 people. What can I do with them? And then I was just coaching him and helping him. And he baptized the 7. And those 7, they started new groups, 3 other groups. And now it's when I count from Jamal, there are 3 generations that came from him forward. So it's a story that always touches my heart when I see so many people. When we are celebrating, I see so many people that Jamal actually facilitated them to come to the Lord.
So yeah, you can find out more by heading over to the YWAM Frontier Missions website at ywamfm.org, where you can read about that story, as well as many others, and many different ways that you can get involved with Frontier Missions around the world. So we'll talk to you about some of the different training opportunities that are coming up with you through the mission, and some of the things that you might want to get involved with if you do want to learn more about missions and how you can be involved. The first one that we're going to talk to you about is actually the Foundation for Intercultural Studies in Nepal. So this one here is here we go. So this is starting at the end of September. The Foundations for Intercultural Studies course will be running in Nepal. The FIS is a course run by YWAM Frontier Missions. Again, they offer so many different training opportunities around the world. This is one of them. Now, this one's designed to train you to go out into the mission's front lines. This course actually takes it a step further and is actually run on the frontiers rather than run at a standard Youth of the Mission training center. The thing that makes the Foundations for Intercultural Studies really stand out is their homestay program. Now, with the homestay program, students get to live with a local family in a traditional Nepali village. During that time, you'll be able to learn ways to share the gospel in a culturally sensitive way, both theoretically as well as practically. You'll help to plant fellowships of believers that are able to multiply by themselves. The course includes a 4-week lecture phase when you will stay at a hostel to learn about intercession and how to act within the culture. Then you'll live 8 weeks with a local family in a traditional village. Those 12 weeks are followed by a field trip to Delhi and Varanasi to visit people who are practicing both disciple-making movements as well as culturally effective ministries in their daily life. The field trip is followed up by an outreach where you'll continue living with the host family while living out what you've learned during the lecture phase and field trip. The course runs from September to May, and you can find out more at ywamfm.org. So there's also a member care seminar coming up. Now, the member care seminar is going to be happening in Slovakia from November 3rd to the 23rd. Now, this course is designed for leaders, member care workers, and people interested in member care. It's there to empower you to help others throughout their ministry or missionary journey. As meant really for people who would like to support YWAM workers at your location to thrive and grow in their personal lives and their ministry, to enable YWAMers to start well, move safely through difficult transitions, and to finish strong. Also help YWAMers who face challenges, stress, or crisis, avoid seeing staff leave prematurely, and also to see your staff and teams be all that God wants them to be. Now, some of the things that you'll get to learn during the course are the 7 care support systems for missionaries, a missionary life cycle, which includes entry, transitions, re-entry, as well as closure. They'll talk about resolving conflicts, listening and coaching skills, helping others in grief and loss, trauma, depression, suicide, caring for families, third culture kids, and singles in missions, risk and contingency plans, and also more. Now, you can find out more on the Member Care Europe Facebook page, which we'll link to at ywampodcast.com/117. Now, YWAM Tyler is actually looking for 12 people who want to see God transform urban areas of the world and to join the Urban Missions Training School.
We're looking for 12 people who want to see God transform urban areas of the world just like this and join our Urban Missions Training School this fall. So if you desire to activate your faith in God and travel internationally to share His love with others, want to be equipped to reach people in big cities in a post-Christian culture, are available for 5 months starting this October, and are game for a life-changing God adventure, then type "send me" in the comments below and we'll private message you with more details. What are you waiting for? Adventure awaits.
So you can actually check that out more on the YWAM Tyler website, which we'll link to at ywampodcast.com/117. Now, that's the end of this show. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you for watching. This is the first time we've actually done it as a video format rather than simply doing it as an audio podcast. So if this is something that you like, please just let us know. If you head over to ywampodcast.com/117, there you can subscribe to future episodes. You can also leave feedback. And again, because this is something new, something that we're trying, something that takes a lot more work to do it, obviously to include all the video as well as the audio. So if it's something that's going to benefit you, let me know, because then, I'll keep doing it. Otherwise, we'll change back to the standard audio format, but we'll give this a go for a while and we'll see how you go and see if it is something that is beneficial to you. So again, thank you so much for listening. If you're on YouTube, give it a thumbs up. Why not? I think you're supposed to say that. But hey, thank you for listening, and we will talk to you again on the next episode of the Youth with a Mission News Show.